Hi everybody, I've got a really exciting tutorial for you all today. We are going to be painting a beautiful shimmery watercolor wreath and we'll finish it with beautiful calligraphy. So this could be a thank you card, it could be a personalized poster, you can choose whatever you like to letter on the inside of the wreath. But it just makes such a fun project. It's really fun to practice through projects like this where you can get a bit more creative and step away from, your regular drills. So if you'd like to try this really fun loose watercolor painting style, jump right in. I'm sure you're going to enjoy it. I've listed all the supplies in the description below. Have a look to get ready and let's get started. So I'm just organising my desk and getting all the materials ready. We'll need a pencil and a round object. I'll use this little tape roll, and a tape roll is actually good because then we can create a bigger circle and a smaller circle by doing the outline and the inside of the roll. So that's actually what we're going to begin with. So I got my watercolour paper and I'm grabbing this roll and we're going to draw a little circle on the inside, and this one's going to be quite small depending on your roll, of course. And then we're going to create another circle by doing the outline of the outer part of the roll. There we go, and this way we'll get a double line. And I find it's really helpful because it helps me imagine how to position all the elements. It helps me keep everything nice and round. I do love having a double line. I'll be using these shimmery watercolours. These are gorgeous. I found them in my local art shop and they're by Artstudio. I'll add the link. And they're wonderful. I can see how this will be used a lot in my studio. On cards and projects like this, on florals. It's absolutely gorgeous. I love all the colours. It's not the most professional palette, but the colours are just amazing. It can be quite hard to find shimmery watercolours in all these lovely colours. So we're going to begin by picking up some red, and you can use any watercolours, of course. So let's begin by adding some water to your red colour. And if you're using metallic and shimmery paints, you'll notice that they need a bit of time kind of activating. So you'll need to kind of mix for a bit until they become lovely and shimmery, until all the pigments come to life. And we're going to start painting these roses. So I'm using a number 8 brush. And I'm not being very precise here. All I'm doing is trying to think of a circle shape. And I'm just doing these really quick C curves and kind of painting, positioning them in a circle, so that when I finish, it looks like a little rose, a flower head. And we're doing clusters here, and this is great because then we'll be able to join them all up with little stems, and it's going to look really pretty. So I'm positioning them kind of at the top of the wreath, a little bit to the left and on the right side as well, just for balance. Okay, and that's it really. So just C curves, they don't need to be super precise. It's nice to leave some white space in there, some negative space, and these will kind of work as natural highlights. It does look really pretty. Okay, and now I've just picked up some green. So let's add some water to our green and do these really thin stalks, joining all the flower heads up. Again, these don't have to be very neat. The key here is to try and do a very thin line, which can be really hard with a watercolor brush. But if you hold it upright a little bit more, so not slanted, but kind of upright, it really helps with the thin lines. So give it a go. So I'm just doing quick, thin, light pressure lines, and then I'm just adding in some bigger leaves here. So think of roses and their leaves. So they are quite big, aren't they? So we kind of want to show those wide looking big leaves. You can do the outline of the leaf and colour it in, or you can apply a bit of pressure and the width of the brush will obviously stamp and it'll just create a thicker looking stroke that will resemble a leaf. So it's really up to you how you do it. You can control the pressure, or you can do the outline of the shape and then colour it in. Okay, so these are all roses. We might come back to them. But for now, let's start adding these really thin lines all around. Maybe some of them can stretch into the inside of the wreath and some of them can go kind of outwards. Let's add a bit of movement here as you do these really thin, quick strokes. These will be little lavender branches. So I am picking up a bit of purple. Again, it takes a bit of time to mix that paint. If you need more time, pause the video. And this is a really fun technique. Super simple. We're just stamping our brush in clusters and then just moving down the stalk. Okay, so lots of stamping there. You might need to reposition the way you hold your brush to get the right angle. But you want to kind of achieve these teardrop shapes and then position them in clusters, leaving a bit of space in between of each cluster, and then just move down. It's a really lovely technique, and they do look like little lavender stems. I really love it. Just freshens everything up right away. Keep going all around the wreath. See how I'm doing a couple on the outer line of the wreath? See how this is really helpful? It just really helps to position all the elements in a beautiful round shape. If you feel like your pencil lines are too harsh, you can always make them a bit less visible. Whilst you can, you can just erase some parts if you're noticing that they still show up through the watercolour. I used a very sharp pencil, so mine are a little bit harsh. They could definitely be a bit lighter. Lovely. Okay, so let's move on. Let's see what else we can add in here. So I'm thinking of adding in some lovely orange looking flowers, but I also kind of imagine them having like a really dark center. So because I don't really have any black here or any dark colors, I'm going to grab a fineliner, which you can also do, or any other black marker or pen. And we're going to draw these little semicircles, so just like a half circle. And this will give us a different, this will allow us to paint like a different perspective of a flower. It will kind of appear from sideways rather than just being round. And that can be really fun. Remember, we're trying to add a lot of movement. So I'm picking up some orange, mixing it up, diluting it, making sure that we get that lovely creamy consistency. And I'm going to start painting these little petals. Again, we're focusing on just one half of the center of the flower. I hope that makes sense. So you can make these as big as you like. I try to keep them quite thin. I think they'll look best if they are quite long and thin. Think of a daisy flower. That could be a good reference, I think. You can use the tip of the brush to refine the shape if you're not happy with the petals outline. And you can just stamp initially with the belly of the brush and then refine. I'm just speeding this up, but you can pause the video, catch up, and just go around your wreath, doing each flower depending on how many you've got here. And this looks really good already. Let's keep going. Let's see what else we can add in. Now we're going to blend in another flower, which we can also think of as a daisy, but this time it's going to be a beautiful, soft and round flower head. So I'm just doing these centers of the flower, but this time in a circle shape. So again, I just use my fineliner, nothing fancy, could be any black pen. And I'm starting to mix some pink. I think pink will look really good here. And I really love this particular pink from this palette. It's really fresh. And I'm just going to start painting these kind of thicker petals and maybe making them a bit shorter. And you can achieve this by stamping your brush again in a teardrop kind of shape. It's a really fun technique, and it doesn't require, a lot of skills. Even people who've never tried watercolor before can do this, I'm sure. So just give it a go. It's really fun and effective. So again, depending on how many flowers you've got here, just work your way around, and it's starting to shape up nicely. And again, I'm just using the tip of my brush to refine if I don't like any particular petals. Okay, so now's the time we start fluffing it all up with more leaves. Now, you might want to choose a smaller brush for this because we want to have some detailed leaves as well as some big ones. And it can be so much easier to do smaller leaves with a smaller brush. And I might actually pick up this really tiny one and start adding in these kind of like intricate, quite delicate looking leaves. So again, I'm just starting with a stem, and I'm then adding on leaf shapes that are formed kind of out of two lines. You can flatten your brush again to get that thickness and join these two sides of the leaf at the top, so that the leaf looks pointy. Or you can do the outline of the leaf and just color it in. And I'm using a slightly different hue of green. So this one's a bit more yellow. And I'm really enjoying it. It is really nice to differ your greens, to add some different shades and tones throughout your artwork instead of just having one set green. I appreciate that maybe some palettes don't have as many greens, but you can always add a bit of yellow into your green or a bit of blue to either darken it or lighten it, and it can look really, really good. So this one, for example, clearly has a lot of yellow in there, so it looks a bit more like olive green. And it just adds such a beautiful variation and contrast. It's really lovely. So just keep going with the smaller leaves, start fluffing everything up, and then we're going to move on to a bigger brush again and a slightly different shade of green, just to make the composition a bit more interesting again. Playing with the color, you can pick up a different green, or you can also use brown or any other kind of beigey, earthy looking tone. This can add a lot of kind of like a natural color to this, and that's the key. You know, when we're painting something from nature, we want to try and resemble all the natural colors, and maybe not having them perfectly shaped and adding a lot of movement. That can really, really help your composition. So notice how I'm trying to slot those leaves into the gaps. So obviously it's nice to leave some white space, but I'm trying to hide those pencil lines and just I'm trying to add those leaves next to the flower heads just to make everything look a bit more natural, kind of overlapping a little bit as well. And see how it kind of fluffs everything up really quickly. It does become quite busy looking, which is nice. It's nice and full looking. And you can go as crazy as you like here with leaves. I can never stop, so I might just need to remind myself to stop. But there we go. That starts to look quite nice. There are a couple of things you can do to add a bit more contrast to this. We can actually go back to our roses and maybe blend in a bit more red, or maybe go over some of the leaves again with a bit more green. So layering watercolours will obviously darken them, and sometimes that can be really nice, especially if they dry really light. And these shimmery colours, they are lovely, but they do dry quite light, so everything is quite faded looking. So it would be nice to have a bit more contrast. So I'm just picking up some red and I'm just going over some of these flower heads, just some of the individual shapes, and maybe adding some thin strokes inside of these pink flowers, hoping that they'll dry a bit darker and there'll be a bit more contrast, so everything just doesn't blend together. And I think this will work. But there we go. And that's pretty much the end result. You can keep going for as long as you like, of course, adding more layers, or you can even go over with fineliner to kind of outline some of the leaves. That can be a really fun technique. But I think I'm pretty much done with this. I'm just maybe layering some green here and there to add a bit more contrast before I do the calligraphy on the inside of the wreath. And because I haven't left a lot of room for my calligraphy, I'm just going to do something really simple like thank you. And you can always outline your calligraphy before you go over with a pen. So I'm just using a pencil and just writing a thank you, maybe thinking of some flourishes I could add. I think I'm going to do a little flourish in the letter Y and then the letter U. The beginning and the end of the word is just a perfect place to add your flourishes. And I'm just grabbing my pen. I'm using a Nikko G nib with a straight pen holder and a black Indian ink. And I'm going to add all the supplies so you can have a look in the description. And I'm just slowly going over my pencil lines. Super slowly and focused.
making sure to stretch all the ascenders like the letter T, H and K high up so that the design looks balanced. I'm going to add a long cross line over the letter T. Again, that's also another place where you can add flourishes. Always looks really lovely. Trying to keep my calligraphy quite small, which can be a challenge. I'm doing this really lovely flourish on the letter Y. So I'm kind of going down with the downstroke and then creating a loop shape. Try to resemble the infinity sign when you do this flourish. That's a good way of thinking about it. And I'm also doing a little kind of like an oval, double oval flourish at the end. And that's the end result. Obviously it wants to dry before we erase the lines. So if there's anything you want to erase, if anything still shows through, you can just go over those areas really carefully, but make sure it dries, otherwise it will smudge. We've all been there when we create something beautiful and then smudge it at the end. But there we go. So I hope you enjoyed this little project. I would really love to see yours. So comment below. Let me know if you enjoyed it. You can tag me on Instagram at Creative Field Designs if you would like to share this. I would love to see. And well done, everybody.
Thanks so much for watching this. I really hope you enjoyed it and that you found it relaxing, that you got inspired and maybe learned something new. Also, if you feel like you'd like to improve your calligraphy and just enjoy many more projects like this, you'll enjoy my Blooming Calligraphers membership. It's such a wonderful creative space filled with so many resources and tutorials to help you improve your calligraphy technique, to help you refine your technique. It's also full of watercolor based projects like this, so you can just enjoy the process of painting, adding beautiful backgrounds to your calligraphy. There's so much to explore, there's something for everybody, and it's just a really fun, supportive, creative space to help you level up your skills. And our community group is the friendliest place ever. I really love seeing everyone's work. Everybody's so friendly. So by joining the group, you'll get access to our Facebook group community, which is honestly the best place. If that sounds interesting, I would love to have you on board. You can join from anywhere in the world. I often get questions whether it's available in the US. So yes, we have members from the US, from Europe, mainly from the UK, but it's open for everybody and everybody can sign up. Now, I've got a little cheeky discount for you if you'd like to trial it out before you commit. So have a look in the description below. You'll find a little discount code that you can use for your first month. Very exciting. So if this resonates with you, if that sounds interesting, I would really love to have you on board. Thanks so much, everybody, and I'll see you again soon. Bye.